Hello. Sorry, I am so late. And yes, internet trouble. So my apologies. For those of you that stuck around, you guys are good friends and I appreciate it. And if those of you couldn't wait and you left, I get it. I totally understand. Please accept my apologies. I am very, very sorry. All right. So I want to, first of all, let me get this up right here. I'm pretty angry about this one. I'm pretty angry about this particular story. And I do think that a lot of people have seen this already because Nancy Grace showcased the disappearance of Nikki McCain a couple of nights ago. It is horrifying, Trishy. I think that is the perfect word. I don't think you can come up with a better word. It's horrifying, and to dig in even deeper into the rabbit hole, it gets more horrifying the deeper into the rabbit hole that you go. There's also a lot of murky, confusing information. Almost seems contrived, right? Like it was a plan to disrupt some of the information. I did also have that same experience with the disappearance of Sebastian. I feel like the information about Christopher Proudfoot, his family members, um, seems to be a connection with Cluminati's ex-husband. And when you really start digging in to try to determine who exactly are these people, you run into a lot of roadblocks. It's very hard to know. For example, let's talk about a strange bit of information about Tyler Scott McCain that I've probably put in 20 hours of actual digging, phone calls, trying to determine who exactly he is. And so I'll tell you this. So it was reported that he was connected to a powerful family, not the McCains of political note, but an important family in Shasta County, and that the there is a connection between his mother, Nikki's mother-in-law, and the Indian reservation, the casino that is there. Her home is actually on the reservation property, which is incredibly interesting because of the limitations that you have legally in terms of investigating crime on a reservation. There, it does seem that there's a connection between this family growing commercial grade marijuana. And yet, when you really begin to investigate and you really kind of go down that rabbit hole, you find out, well, so the old man, Eugene McCain, he's definitely connected to Mello, which is Thailand, Phuket, Thailand, Boston, Massachusetts, San Diego. Um, he's definitely connected to a Tyler McCain, who is still alive today and still growing different ways to grow marijuana. I think he's vice president of cultivation or something for the company. Um, a brother apparently is part owner in the company. However, the same exact guy is being shown as deceased in Louisiana in 2022. How can you have that, right? How can you have a guy being shown alive and well, vice president of cultivation for a commercial marijuana growing operation. Yes, in Northern California, also Colorado, some other places. How can you show him alive and well, but you've also got him dying in South Louisiana in 2022? How? I don't understand that. How can you? So I don't know what it means. It's very clearly the same Eugene, right? The dad, the connection with the dad is no question. It's the same guy. And I almost wonder, maybe Tyler, the one who was married to Nikki, maybe Tyler is not really Tyler McCain. Maybe he stole that identity at some point. Now his mom, who the community all legit say that is his mom, like there's no question about who his mom is, right? She does live on reservation property, and she has business connections with the reservation, the casino there. So I'm really at a loss. I don't know. So I cannot validate that this particular McCain, Tyler Scott McCain, I can't validate that he in fact is the rightful vice president / part owner in the commercial real estate grower company. At this point I'm thinking no, but I know ABC reported that, right? So ABC reported it, but it's one of two things. It's just flat wrong, and there's a third guy named Tyler Scott McCain that all look alike. I mean, these guys all look alike. So either there's a third guy with the exact same name in Boston, Massachusetts, or the guy that died in Louisiana had his identity stolen by the guy who's living out in California now. Apparently, I mean, he nearly beat Nikki to death. That is a certainty. No question about that, right? So it's curious. It's a crazy story. And in many ways, I'm going to tell you, in many ways, it reeks of Christopher Proudfoot and the disappearance of Sebastian. Why do I say that? Why do I think there's some parallels? Well, people do not poof into thin air. I don't care what Mr. Proudfoot says, but they don't. And yet we have Nikki, who seems to have poofed into thin air, that on May the 17th of this year, a couple of months ago, May the 17th, she was seen by her biological family. She was making it. She was getting a divorce. The man that she was married to for 13 years, y'all. This was not a new marriage. This was not a boyfriend-girlfriend. This was a long marriage. For 13 years they were married, knew each other 15 years. And then a couple of weeks before, this guy nearly killed her. He nearly killed her. She ended up, even though he had tied her up and beaten her to a pulp, she was able to escape. She was able to get medical help. They transported her to the hospital, and they said, "Oh my God, who did this to you?" And she said, "My husband, Tyler Scott McCain." She said it to the doctors and nurses that were there. They all heard it, right? And that's the last day that made any sense to her family. Now, his family, to be fair, his family, they have not said a word that I can find They have not come out, spoken. They've not done anything. It's the craziest thing that I've seen. The mother-in-law, whose home is there on the reservation right beside the casino, or right behind the casino, um, the casino has said, you can't investigate here, and we don't have what is necessary to do a criminal investigation. We want to try to help somehow, and here's $10,000 for a information, a reward, right? So the casino has put up $10,000 for reward money for this woman. And you have to stop a minute and say, okay, well, wait a minute. This is already a crazy case. Things just don't add up. So why do we have his mom connected to the casino, and the casino comes out and says, okay, you can't investigate here, but here's $10,000 for a reward fund. So Trishy says, didn't Nikki work at the Indian casino? I don't know. Did she? I think the tribal council is helping protect this guy. Trishy, I'm looking for that connection. Where is it? Because I don't think that McCain is the Native American, unless his mother is. Maybe his mother is. But I mean, when I say there's not a scrap of information on the internet, nothing. And when I called up to the casino, nothing. No one knows nothing. It's very odd. Do you know that to be true, Trishy, that she worked at the Wynn Casino? I'm in California, completely feel like there is some corruption within the DA tribal council. Now, she was asked when she was in the hospital after nearly being killed by her husband. She was asked about drug use, and she did tell the hospital that he uses meth. And we know that the FBI came out with a white paper. I guess it's been a couple of years now. They came out, put out a white paper saying that of all the drugs that there are, there's only one that is directly correlated or positively correlated with murder or violence, and that is methamphetamine. So basically what that means is someone is using methamphetamine, you're in physical danger. You should get away from them as you can, right? So if it's true that he uses meth, then, that would explain the bizarre assault that she experienced. I mean, it was bizarre what he did to her. Poured water on. I mean, it's just bizarre. It's a bizarre story. It gets made worse by the actions of the district attorney. They have put out some signs, but listen to how strange this is. Okay, this is crazy, right? So Nikki drives, or that she did drive, a Chevy Avalanche, right? It's gray, like a pewter, light gray metallic 2002 Chevy Avalanche. That was her car. She goes missing. She sees her family on the 17th. And then she goes missing, or she is reported missing the next day on the 18th. And I think I have, maybe I didn't download. Let me see. Yeah. Didn't download. Okay, let me I can get my information somewhere else. Hold on just a second. I want to make sure I have the right dates for everything. Just a second. Almost done. Hold on. All right. Sorry about that. So there is, I really miss my um, computer that was a touchscreen. I loved my touchscreen computer. All right. So the domestic violence incident happened in December 2023. Um, Nikki was able to escape, was in the hospital, and she told her story to the doctors and the nurses. The sheriff's department shows up, the police department show up, and she says that she was tied up. She was dramatically beaten for more than 3 hours. And ultimately, to make a long story short, crazy Tyler Scott McCain catches 4 felony charges of violence, domestic violence types of charges. False imprisonment was one of them. And and then a smattering of other charges. Okay, that's December the 23rd. Now, December the 6th, they filed the complaint, and December the 7th, this young woman was provided a protective order against Tyler. So they made the order that he had a restraining order against him. So if he had tried to come near her or hurt her in any way, one quick phone call to the cops, that's all would be needed, and they would show up ready to act first and then ask questions later. But for some reason, when all of this went down on May the 18th, there was really no warning, right? There was no kind of update that she felt like she was in danger. When she was in the hospital, she was able to provide enough evidence for the district attorney to say, yes, I think we have sufficient information, sufficient evidence to get a guilty verdict for these charges. And so we're going to move forward. And they did a preliminary hearing. And so that he was arrested and they were ready to move forward with this case. Tyler presented in court January the 8th, 2024, and he's a scary looking dude. There's very few pictures of him available. One picture I found, he was much younger, and he doesn't look anything like the guy that is in this picture for January the 8th, the mugshot. This January 8th mugshot, he just looks like a hardened, cold, cruel bastard. He looks bad. He looks scared. He looks like a scary guy. So they did a court proceeding where he pled not guilty, and that was that. He could have pled, he could have tried to do no contest, but he didn't. He said not guilty, which I thought was just insane, considering this poor woman was tied up, 2 black eyes, bruises all over her face and shoulders. I mean, how's he going to defend himself? It's just crazy. And then on February the 20th, there was a motion to continue. There wasn't a lot of information about February the 20th, but then when we get to March 13th, there's a pre-trial hearing just to sort of just to check on the case and see how things are going. So by March the 13th, it still looks like Everything's going as planned for this trial that was going to be happening in July, right? So from March to May the 7th, then, Tyler McCain is arraigned. In the event the judge finds sufficient evidence to support the charges during the preliminary investigation, they will do an arraignment. And so that's it. False imprisonment, injury to spouse, criminal threats, and there was something else, and I don't remember what the fourth one was. And then 11 days later, count them, 11. So all the way from December to May the 7th, she was living her best life. She was alive and getting started on her own to live, be a divorced woman. Their children are, in fact, right now living with Nikki's family, so they are protected. But they go all the way from December to May the 7th, no threat of life after that initial nightmare beating. But 11 days after he is indicted, 11 days after they say, we got plenty of evidence here, the DA has got everything that she needs to get a guilty on this particular guy with all of his charges. We are moving ahead to trial. So he is indicted. They're ready to go. And 11 days later, Nikki is missing, but just gone. Now, the story itself or how she went missing, again, is strange considering this particular case. And maybe what makes it strange is lack of information. But isn't that what makes things strange with Sebastian Rogers' case? That we're told by this mother who puts on this act of a little Georgia peach that just couldn't harm a fly. And yet, a week after her child, 2 weeks after her child goes missing, she's giggling and yucking it up online with the likes of Illuminati. It's the craziest thing that you've seen. And then we find out later on that Illuminati, in fact, is friends with the Proudfoot, or at least with Christopher Proudfoot. And perhaps Christopher Proudfoot may actually be related to Illuminati's ex-husband, who's a registered sex offender in prison. Crazy stories. Crazy stories. So while they give this impression that there's such innocence and such sweetness, and that, Sebastian in the middle of the night walks up to the front door where he then magically poofs into thin air like something out of a Walt Disney fable, never be seen again. In fact, the dogs cannot even find Sebastian's scent on the ground where he walked every day of his life. It's weird business. Almost like someone knew how to cover Sebastian's scent. It's very odd. So here we are now with Nikki McCain. She is badly beaten in December. She gets a restraining order. There's several court cases. The DA keeps coming back saying, I need more. I need this piece of evidence. I need that piece of evidence. Give me more, give me more, give me more. Finally, May the 7th, they show up in court, and the DA says, Judge, I got everything I need. We're moving forward. We're getting this guy on 4 felony charges related to domestic violence and attempted murder. And 11 days after that, Nikki goes missing. So it would seem that the last time that anyone heard from Nikki was around midnight. She texted her sister Chloe, telling her that she was going to drop her mother-in-law's car at her house near the Wind River Casino, and that a friend of Tyler's was going to give her a ride home. Oh, really? A friend of Tyler? Tyler, the man that tried to kill you? Tyler, the man that you just went to court to have him arrested and charged and indicted for attempted murder. Why are you running around with Tyler's friends, Nikki? Or was this, in fact, not Nikki who was texting Chloe? I don't think it was Nikki texting Chloe. Think about this story again. Listen, Nikki texted sister saying, I'm going to drop off Tyler's mom's car at her house. And then a friend of Tyler is going to pick me up and drive me home. So what you're saying, Nikki, is 11 days ago, you went to court for the indictment of the man you've got a restraining order against for attempted murder. And now you trust not only his mom, but his friend to drive you around in the middle of the night after midnight, dropping off cars, getting in cars, jumping out of cars. That is a crazy story. Same kind of crazy story of, yeah, I just don't know what made Sebastian walk out that front door. I don't know why he ran out that front door. I don't know why he wasn't even in trouble. Okay, Katie, you want to be worried about what made him go through that door. You want to weep and lament why Sebastian went out that front door. Let me challenge you, Katie Proudfoot. Have you no interest in what happened to Sebastian after he got out that front door? Why is it that you haven't said, where is he? Is he warm? Is he being fed? Did someone pick him up? Is he being hidden in a house? Was he kidnapped? Are we going to get a request for ransom? What has happened to my child? Has he gone down, slipped down into the water? Where is my child? Get out there and find my child. No, Katie Proudfoot, you want to know where your words, your concern, your tears end? At that front door. I don't know what made my son walk out that front door. Because he didn't walk out that front door, Katie. And everyone knows that he didn't walk out the front door, including the police that are working the case. And so in the same way that I simply cannot accept that Sebastian walked out the front door and poofed into thin air, I simply cannot believe that Nikki McCain, after having been tied up and beaten to a pulp, having to escape on her own, made it to safety, told the cops who did this to her, and then decided that the man who tried to kill her, his mom, and his friend were trustworthy after midnight. Don't believe it. It's not real. It's no more real than Sebastian poofing into thin air. So Tyler's friend is going to give Nikki a ride home after she drops off Tyler's mom's car at her house. No one knows what happened after this particular event. No one knows where Nikki went. No one knows what Nikki was wearing that night. And it has not been disclosed what she was wearing by Tyler, Tyler's mother, or Tyler's ethereal friend. Shasta County Sheriff's Office also says, we don't know what she was wearing either. Oh, okay. Okay, Tyler, you big fat liar. You big fat liar. We know you. That was not Nikki texting. So then the question goes, okay, well, hold on a second. What about her car? If she's dropping off Tyler's mom's car, then where was Nikki's car? Well, It was missing. That's right. So not only was Nikki missing, but her car was missing as well. In fact, it was missing for nearly 2 weeks after it was found by the police. That's right. On May the 25th, Nikki's car, the gray Avalanche, was found 45 miles in the opposite direction from where Nikki lived, from where she was last seen. Kind of like Suzanne Morphew. That Barry Morphew knows where his house is, and he took off to Denver to work. And magically, Suzanne's body was found in the exact opposite direction from where he got everyone to look at him. He got all the cops, all the sleuthers, he got everyone looking at him by what? His 5 trash dumps. That's right. Every single trash can that man went to that morning as he approached Denver had cameras there. You think a man that tracks bears and wild animals through the outback, do you think that this man is dumb enough to not consider cameras? This is the man, Barry Morphew, had game cameras going all the way up his driveway that were all magically disconnected when Suzanne made her fateful bicycle trip and what? Poofed into thin air. Her body being found some 48 miles south of the family home, the direct opposite direction as what Barry Morphew made sure we were all looking at. And now we have the same story here with Tyler Scott McCain. Nikki's car was found 45 miles in the direct opposite location as where she should have been going on the 17th or the early morning hours of the 18th. When they found Nikki's car, a suspect said he dumped the vehicle in the area of Bowman, Unknown Cross near Brigade. Who is the suspect? Why is this person with the vehicle of a missing person? And do you think the cops have told us those answers? Nope. And even more interesting, not only did they not tell us who the suspect is that was driving the car, but they haven't really said or explained why they did not notify everyone not to look for the car anymore. That's right. They just let everybody keep looking for the gray Avalanche. They didn't see this case getting absolutely very little attention, very little information coming out. But the people local that were in fact looking, searching for Nikki, they were primarily looking for Nikki's car. They believed, okay, we don't know what happened to Nikki, but if we can just find her car, her truck, then maybe there'll be some evidence in it. Maybe it will give us some information for what could have happened to her. And you would think with all the requests, oh, we're looking for this vehicle, this is the car that Nikki was last seen driving, yada, yada, yada. Nobody said a word. Isn't that odd behavior for the police? It's just crazy. And again, it gets me right back to Sebastian Rogers feeling like, okay, what's the gig here, guys? Why are you treating the disappearance of a kid with autism? Why are you calling this a runaway? Why are you refusing to investigate these parents? Why are you not all up over in Shriners Hospital in Memphis? Why aren't you crawling all over that campground? What is going on? Why are the cops not taking the disappearance of Sebastian Rogers why aren't they treating it with urgency in the early days? when evidence could have been found. It doesn't matter how urgent they get now, that evidence has now been destroyed. And now you find out that the police, there was, to be fair, there was some confusion about the county as opposed to the reservation and then the city police. There was confusion, but don't we have the same confusion in Sebastian Rogers' case? Oh, Mr. Proudfoot did not call 911 because they live in the county, so they just called a buddy at the sheriff's department. Now you have no recorded call. You don't have independent verification other than the friend that took the call. It's messy. It's messy, messy, messy. And this particular case is huge because it's messy. So June the 28th, there was a court hearing. The Shasta County District Attorney's Office during that hearing moved to dismiss, that's right, people, dismissed the domestic violence case against Tyler Scott McCain. You want to know why? Insufficient evidence because the victim is currently unavailable for testimony. Yeah, this is actually a thing. This district attorney, Bridget, actually said, well, now there is no case. Like, we were going to charge him. We were going to throw the book at him. We were coming for him. But now that the lady with the restraining order, with the 2 black eyes, beaten within an inch of her life by who? Her husband. Well, now she's just poofed right into thin air. Just poof, magically, like Sebastian. Poof. And now there is no case. Because we have to have the victim alive to give the testimony. Oh, really? Are you sure, DA? That seems kind of strange to me, because I've known an awful lot of doctors and nurses on duty where a victim was able to give their statement about what happened to them, and then they died. And the doctor and nurse's testimony is accepted in a court of law, but not your court of law. Why is that? So it would be different. It would be different. My reaction would be definitely different if I felt like they had gone to the hearing and they had said the domestic violence cases will be dropped. We are going to recharge with murder. Because if you do that, then the statements that she made while in the hospital, the statements made directly to sheriff's department about who did this to you, now all that comes in, doesn't it, DA? Doesn't it? But that's not what you did. You just dropped the charges. The man's walking around free, using meth at will. Why? It's absolutely unforgivable. At this time, without the victim, we are unable to prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt. That is exactly what was said in the court of law. It just, you can't wrap your brain around it. So this incredible moment of incompetence or dirty judges or whatever it is, I don't know what caused it, but I know it's not right, happened on June the 28th. So we're talking about what, 2 weeks ago, the 14th, right? On July the 3rd, 5 days after this incredible, we're going to drop the charges because we can't prove anything without her here. The hell you can't. You got statements from her The sheriff's department took her statement. You got doctors and nurses that witnessed it. But you don't take that route. Why? 3 days later, I'm sorry, 5 days later, July the 3rd, there is a fire, a notable fire at Taylor McCann's property. Authorities confirmed that the fire originated at the Tyler McCain property. He claimed that he was using a car and the catalytic converter failed, expelling hot fragments into dry grass, igniting the fire. Was he arrested? Well, why would he be arrested, Jules? Why would that be? Well, it burned 98 acres, but magically it didn't burn the McCain property. It seemed to have been wetted down with water before the fire started. 98 acres off of a fire that started while you were standing there watching it? Why would you wait so long to call the cops, the fire department? 98 acres, but your property is untouched? So do you think they arrested him? No. They even had fire investigators come out and investigate for arson. Can you imagine being arrested for arson after all that has happened with your wife, nearly killing her? Can you imagine? They had an opportunity. They had another opportunity. Guess what they did? They wrote him a check. He received a citation for negligently causing a fire and burning someone else's land. Is your jaw on the ground? Because I simply just cannot believe that this is real. And finally, officially, July the 5th, the charges of domestic violence against Tyler McCain are dropped, and the trial that was supposed to happen in July is formally dismissed because Nikki cannot attend the trial and testify. Do you feel like you're ready to hit something? I am dumbfounded at this. Dumbfounded. All right. So that is basically where we sit today on this case. And I will note that Nancy Grace very clearly said that Tyler Scott McCain is not named as a suspect in the disappearance of Nikki Saley McCain. It's just awful. It's just awful. Every bit as awful as the disappearance and murder of Suzanne Morphew. And it just as awful and horrifying as the missing status poof of Sebastian Rogers and those people that slather their saliva all over Christopher Proudfoot. Oh, Chris, you're just so funny. What a great guy you are, Chris. You know what? Chris Proudfoot is the greatest gaslighter of all time. At least Barry Morphew had the decency to keep his damn mouth shut. At least Barry Morphew had the decency to crawl up into the backwoods and hide. Christopher Proudfoot going around making his rounds on these disgusting YouTube channels, joking and laughing, making fun of Sebastian as a young boy with autism, calling the father of this missing kid some of the most horrendous, terrible names I've ever heard, showing Seth Rogers complete and utter disrespect. Disgusting. Now, one of the reasons I wanted to do this and cover this story, there's a theme, right? I get very passionate when women like Shanann Watts go missing. I get really passionate when they go missing and they accidentally end up dead. And then you get morons who start talking about how she drove Christopher Watts to kill her. She was so annoying. She had Munchausen by proxy. She was abusive to her husband. She was abusive to her children. She spent all of Christopher Watts' money. Those idiots are the same exact idiots that are fighting for who's going to be Christopher Proudfoot's next wife. Was it wife number 5, wife number 6? Same kind of people. You take a woman who goes missing and is later found dead, and then you make her responsible for her death. You protect the man who very likely did this to her by building him up as some sort of victim. Wrong. So here's what I'm going to say about this meth addicted, disgusting cretin of a human being, Tyler Scott McCain. Here's what I'll say about him. He is considered presumed innocent until found guilty in a court of law by his peers. But my opinion is that he wanted Nikki dead. My opinion is that it was not, in fact, Nikki texting the early morning hours of the 18th, that it was, in fact, Tyler who was pretending to be Nikki, who the only people can verify the truth is that of his mom and his friend. And why would we have any reason to believe whatsoever that his mother even loved Nikki? I mean, she didn't stop Nikki from getting the shit beat out of her. We know that Barry Morphew's mother didn't give a damn about Suzanne. And we damn sure know beyond any doubt, we know that Cindy Watts despised Shanann. So is there a pattern here? Are we seeing a pattern of behavior here in these cases? That these men that will have the audacity to kill the women that they promise to protect and love, that if they get the approval, the blessings of the family, then they don't have any trouble disappearing them? Is that the pattern? Is there something here in family patterning that if the mom or the dad disapprove of the in-law, the person that the son married, if they disapprove, then somehow the husbands are empowered to disappear them? That is something to really consider, something to really think about. And Trishy, totally agree that if you can make Barry Morphew look bad, I'm sorry, if you can make yourself look worse than Barry Morphew, just hang it up. Just give it up, because you are. Barry Morphew is the man who blamed Suzanne Morphew's disappearance on God. Let that sink in. Your wife goes missing, turns up dead 45 minutes from your house, and you blame God? Yeah, Tyler Scott McCain, you're a piece of shit, because you actually look worse than the guy who blamed God. All right. So what are you guys thinking? What are your opinions on this case? Scrolling back up through the comments. Uh, some people have said possible corruption. Maybe there's kickbacks. Maybe there's money. Maybe. Did they look for a burnt body? Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure that yes. And here's the deal. I think 98 acres burned. That's a lot. And my thought would be, was he trying to disrupt bloodhounds or beagles from tracking? Was he trying to hide the location of a burial site by denying a scent for the dogs to find? Possibly. I told y'all this case was going to piss you off. This is one of the worst. I think what makes it so bad is that the district attorney not doing more to hold this guy in jail. That's what gets me. So this district attorney is going to have some explaining to do. You know what I mean? And my hope is that people on social media will mobilize and get very activated and take this case and just shove it down the halls of city court and force the district attorney to act. Just force it. This is unforgivable. This is unforgivable that this young woman has been tossed away. It's unforgivable, and I hold the DA responsible. They had all the medical reports. They had eyewitnesses. They had the victim herself spoke directly to sheriff's department and made a statement. The victim herself. It's unforgivable. Unforgivable. Oh, my blood pressure. I'm so angry. So angry. I'm tired of seeing women discarded, brutalized, and discarded. And then everybody looks the other way depending on how much money that family has, right? If the family's someone special, if the family has some standing, then there's no hope of getting a successful prosecution against the victim. That's the absolute truth. And here's another truth for you that I believe, I guess technically it's an opinion. Christopher Watts, if he had not been stupid, if he had kept his mouth shut and refused to acknowledge what he did, I bet you he'd be walking around today. If these families have money, you are not going to get a successful prosecution. They cannot tolerate dragging a man of standing through the courts. They can't. Not for a mere woman. You want another example? O.J. Simpson. That son of a bitch walked. And as he walked, the jury gave him the black power sign. His wife or ex-wife was damn near beheaded. They knew exactly who did it. There were multiple phone calls asking for help in the middle of the night, 911 calls with him there, O.J. Simpson there at her house, raging. She had been hospitalized with broken bones from O.J. Simpson, raging. And yet when it came time to answer what he did to his ex-wife, he got the black power sign and a not guilty verdict. Yes, Tyler's mom's house is located on tribal land, which is a problem, isn't it? It's very interesting that the last, potential communication was from Nikki saying, I'm going to drop the car off at her house, meaning on the reservation. but it can't be investigated, right? Because it's on the reservation. Why would Nikki have been in her car? Where was Nikki's car? Who is the friend? No answers for none of it. Just, sorry, no prosecution because the victim of domestic violence is missing. Oh, you think, DA Bridget? You think? You don't think that beating she took in December warrants a murder charge? It's incredible. It's incredible. I'm furious. Tyler's mom's name is Jeanette Hayward. Is it the aunt? Yes. Okay. So the aunt, Jeanette Hayward, is it gossip, but I haven't found verification of it. But I'm looking. Jeanette Hayward, the aunt, is sitting on the tribal council. And that makes her a very powerful person where that casino is concerned. That casino is bringing in a great deal of cash for the council. This is a nightmare, truly a nightmare. This is one of those cases that I wish that Bullhorn Betty would go and raise holy hell. I'm talking about just lift the roof off of DA Bridget's office. Just incredible. All right, let me go back over here. The OJ trial came right after Rodney King beating, which was triggering race riots in Watts. So the race card helped blind the jury. I don't even think they were blinded, Trishy. I think they knew damn well that they would never find him guilty. They would never send him to prison because he was at the time a black leader. They had few of those on a national, international stage, and they couldn't separate the man from the position, right? But it doesn't mean that Nicole, his wife, was not valuable. He should have served time for her murder, period. There's multiple videos on YouTube of jurors from O.J. Simpson saying they knew he was guilty, but this time they were going to protect him. Yeah, and I don't think that it was simple. I don't think it was a simple issue of, well, he's black, we got to stand together, united. I don't think it was that at all. I think they looked at him as one of the few famous, powerful, world-renowned, successful black men, and they just couldn't be involved in tearing him down. Their kids needed an icon to look up to know, hey, I can do well too. And of course, now we have Barack Obama and Clarence Thomas. I mean, there's a lot of very successful surgeons and attorneys and businessmen. Ben Carson. So maybe if that same trial happened today, maybe that same exact jury would have been able to find him guilty. But I think given the cultural pressures of the time, I think they just couldn't bring themselves to do it. They just did not want to rob historically. They didn't want to rob their culture of of a success story, and you can't really blame them. It makes me mad. I think he should have been found guilty. He should have answered for her death. But I can certainly have empathy for the jury and understand, or try at least to consider what they may have been grappling with at the time. And he was rich and handsome. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Checked all the boxes, right? Yeah. All right. So this will be another one that we will follow closely. And, I'm just, I don't know how I'm going to take it if this DA does not step up and charge this man and follow through with the trial. I just don't understand. I don't understand how this DA walks away from this. I really don't. But remember, let me be careful here. Remember, the cops found her car and did not tell anyone. They let the public look for more than a week while they had that car in custody. Wrap your head around that. It looks dirty. This case looks dirty as hell. So I hope that people that knew Nikki from the casino, from the reservation, I hope people will come forward and have the courage to tell her story. Because I don't think it's simple. I don't think it. Here's another one too. They're claiming now there's a different story. Now they're claiming that it was an Uber driver that dropped Nikki off. Okay, so what was it? Did you have a suspect driving her Avalanche, dumping it 45 miles south? Or did you have Nikki calling and taking an Uber home? Which is it? I don't think it was either one. I think you got to go back to Tyler and say, what did you do with your wife, Nikki, on the reservation at your mother's house? I think that's what you have to ask. I don't think there was an Uber involved, and I don't think there was a suspect driving the Avalanche. I did say Shriners, didn't I? St. Jude's. Yeah, I said it wrong. Thank you, Trishy. Thanks so much. Hey, AV, good to see you. Yeah, if you're a woman getting the shit beat out of you by your husband, you're sorry. You don't matter. You don't count in society. And if your husband and his family happen to have a little money, then you really don't count. I'm just burned up by this story. Just burned up. Yeah. All right, Sweet Tea, thank you so much for your super sticker. I appreciate it more than you know. I have not been able to work this week. I'm horrified because when I don't work, I don't get paid. If you're a salary, if you work for like a hospital or something like that, then you get time off, right? You get paid. If the hospital closed down, you get paid that day. But when you're in private practice, you work on contract, you don't get paid if you don't work. So the hurricane has really messed me up. Beryl has messed me up. So you are a sweetheart, Sweet Tea. Thank you so much. I appreciate you so much. So much. All right. I hope you guys have a wonderful afternoon. And I just want to put a little bit of information out there before I go to Christopher Proudfoot and Katie. You guys may be feeling all smug and safe. Be very careful, because these DAs that really want to do their job well, they can take their time putting the case together against you. And I think your time is coming. And it may be a year from now, maybe 2 years from now, like in the case of Orrin and Orson West. but they're coming for you guys. So go ahead and get on your little channels, yuck it up, have a big time. And just remember, they are coming for you. Pam Frenchman, you guys are too sweet. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm going to buy some oatmeal and bread to get by until I get a full week of work again. Thank you, sweet tea. Gosh, you guys are y'all are very kind. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Really, really, really appreciate it. All right. Y'all have a great evening. Thank y'all for being here and sticking it out as I ranted and raved. This one makes me mad, y'all. This one makes me so angry. So angry. So I hope everybody will start investigating and looking, and let's try to bring some pressure on this DA to do the right thing. At least let them know that the world is watching. That's right, DA Bridget. The world is watching. All right. Y'all have a good evening. Bye.